I'm Steve Gilman, and this is Brand Story, where we help you build stronger, more sustainable brands by sharing insightful conversations with brand leaders, marketers, and professional storytellers. My guest today is Toby Myles.
Sometimes we forget there are other humans on the other side. And, with my clients, or even if I'm just teaching about email marketing, I encourage people to think about a specific person. Think about like an ideal client that's on the other end of that list. They're sitting there, they're opening your email, like write to them as if they are a human being.
Toby is the founder of Toby Myles Strategic Copywriting and a certified email strategist. She's also the host of Her Origin Story, a podcast where she features bold women who have turned ideas into impact. And she's a champion of the life first business, which I think is fascinating. And that's building a career that prioritizes flexibility, family, and freedom. And from what I've learned about Toby, that's her approach to all things connection over conversion. And hi, Toby, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Steve.
Yeah, I'm thrilled to have you on. I've been following you on LinkedIn for a while now and just really found your posts to be really honest and charming and helpful to people out there and, very unselly. And I think that's great.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. I have a difficult time showing up when I feel uncomfortable. Yeah. And usually if I feel uncomfortable, it's because I'm trying to do things the way someone else does them. And so I don't really think of myself as a rebel, but in that regard, I guess I'm a little bit of a rule breaker. I like to have fun on LinkedIn. Everything always feels so like, I don't know, rigid and stuffy. Yeah. And it's like, no, I want to tell stories. I want to hear other stories. Like those are the things that just, feel light and fun to me. So that's how I try to show up.
Yeah, I think you do a great job of doing things that I don't expect to see. And some of them are really fun. And I mean that in a good way. They're just unusual and they capture your personality. And I think that's a great way to go about LinkedIn is just to be yourself. So anyone listening out there, I really recommend following Toby, and we'll have a link to her LinkedIn on the episode page for this episode. So let's dive in and talk a little bit about your journey. So, you left corporate marketing, started your own thing. You have the concept and idea that you live of a life first business. Can you tell me what brought that on and how you started doing that?
Yeah. So I was in corporate marketing for 15 years. I worked in direct response marketing and I was a client strategy manager. And I, for probably like the second half of that time there, my manager kept sort of dangling this promotion. And year after year, it just didn't happen. Her manager kept changing. And it would sort of slip through the cracks, and then they would start the whole thing all over again. And in March of 2019, when I had my annual review, I just felt like this is never going to happen. I am never going to get this promotion. And I said to her, I just think it's time for me to move on and do something else. She's like, no, just wait. Let me try one more time. And I guess that was like, the magic bullet, me threatening to leave. And they promoted me. And I had this kind of like sick feeling in my gut. I was like, I don't know, something about this just feels like why now? When I finally decide I'm going to leave, now you're going to promote me. But I talked to my husband about it and we agreed, well, just give it a try, right? You can still leave at the end of the year like you said you were going to, but try it and maybe it'll be okay. And they had me reporting to a new manager who was a micromanager, which did not work well for me at all. And they assigned me one huge account instead of multiple accounts. And the client was difficult, and that's putting it nicely.
Yeah.
And there were days when I was just so stressed and so miserable. I was under my desk in tears. And I was like, this is not, I cannot do this, right? And I just really thought, I don't know if I'm going to make it till the end of the year. And then in August of that same year, my husband got diagnosed with multiple myeloma, which is a blood cancer. And of course, our lives changed immediately, right? Yeah. Everything was uncertain. We really didn't know what the future held. And I said to him, like, I don't think I can leave now because I probably should stay for the stability. And his response almost immediately was, this is exactly why you should leave, because you don't know what the future brings. And we have proof of that, right? He seemed perfectly healthy
Yeah.
up until that point. And so I said, you know what, you're right. And he said, I have you. If you want to go start your own thing, that's what I did. December 31st, 2019 was my last day. And
Wow.
pre-pandemic, so we all know kind of what 2020 looked like. It probably wasn't ideal timing, but in some ways it was, because I had quite a few clients that had in-person, like almost solely in-person businesses, and they needed to shift
Yeah.
online. And so as a copywriter, it was
Yeah.
actually good for me.
They're good. That is good timing because the needs changed of
Yes.
everyone.
Yep,
Well,
for sure.
that's probably one of the best and hardest stories of why you started your own thing. How's your husband doing? Is he well?
Oh, thank you for asking. So there is no cure for
Yeah.
multiple myeloma, but there are a lot of treatments, and right now he's doing pretty well. He actually keeps me going because he stays super positive and really doesn't have a, oh, why me kind of attitude. He
Yeah.
never has from the start, and that's super helpful.
That's great. Yeah, you can tell there's a ton of positive energy in your life because you put it into your posts and your work. And,
Yeah.
that's how I ended up talking to you because I find you to be very positive and very
Thank you.
genuine about it.
Thank you.
So, storytelling is really central to what you do.
Mhm.
So, how did you fall in love with storytelling? Where does that come from?
Yeah, so I like to say that I come from a long line of storytellers. My grandfather was the master of storytelling, and as kids, like when a grown up tells you something, like you believe it, right? You don't know
Yeah.
if they're making it up or not. And he would just lure us in. He would weave some tale, and we would just be sitting there like in disbelief, like, wow, did this actually happen? Until my grandmother would start laughing. And she would say, oh, Jack, his name was Jack. Oh, Jack, stop. And that was when we realized that he was sort of,
Putting you on.
weaving this tale, right? And
Yeah.
so my dad was also, his stories usually came in the form of jokes, something that he heard at work, he would bring home. And it was, not just like a quick joke with a punchline. It was usually, there were like many, kind of steps to it. And so I feel like at a young age, I learned connection through stories because the people closest to me loved telling stories. And then in my career, in working with my clients, we'd be on a strategy call and, trying to come up with ideas for emails or for blogs or whatever. And I found that what some people would think of as just mundane and something that was just part of their lives would kind of like catch my attention. And I'd say, well, no, that right there is the story. Like you just glossed over this thing and you think it's ordinary because it's part of your life, but that is a story that you can be telling, right? And so I started to think of myself as a story whisperer. I don't know if there is such a thing,
Yeah. It's a nice
but
thought, though.
a nice thought, right? And
Yeah.
so so when I started my business, I really was just writing emails and blogs and things like that. But I would say over the past couple years, I have really kind of discovered this love and passion for storytelling and how to weave it into our content, our websites, our posts, our emails.
Yeah. And I think, the idea of being a story whisperer sort of points to just being a really good listener and being able to pull out those nuggets and those little pieces that actually matter, the human moments and the moments with heart are really
Yes.
what make a good story.
Yes.
So, and I think you do that really well since I see your stories and I read them and I think, practice makes perfect, but also you obviously
Right.
have an instinct for it.
I think too that, and I think most people can relate to this, that with so many people using AI to generate their copy, there
Yeah.
is definitely a lot of things sounding the same. And that's the one thing we can always say about stories is that they are our own. And if we can find ways to tell them, it helps us to kind of stand apart from everybody else.
Yeah. And I think I've talked about this with several guests lately about AI and copywriting and content creation. And that I think what I've seen happening a little bit, everybody's still like, wow, that's so cool. But a lot of it's really heartless.
Yes.
I think there's going to be a reaction where everyone's going to be really thirsty for humanity and the real things and the
Yeah.
flavor of, you know, the genuine and honest stories and imperfection.
imperfection.
Yeah. And I
Yes.
think there's a real skill set of people who can weave good stories with real imperfections in them, because that's what we all respond to,
Right.
because
Yeah.
this dry, canned thing that AI does, and I like AI. I think there's some really helpful
Yeah.
things about it.
Yeah, for sure.
And we use it in certain ways, but yeah,
Hmm.
it's not the best editor or writer sometimes.
No, it's not. And it's also, I think anyone who's used it for any length of time realizes that it can be a cheerleader when it really shouldn't
Yeah.
be.
That's great. Your crappy idea is
Yes, you're
awesome.
amazing.
Yeah.
Right. And oh my gosh, to go in a whole direction based off of this machine telling you have this amazing idea could be, a waste of time.
Yeah. There's a lot of that. So, one of the ways I connected with you first was through you talking about email.
Mhm.
And, it's one of those things, like it's one of those marketing tools that I feel like is so undervalued. So whenever we work with clients, I always ask about their email list and how they do it, because it's one of those channels where you have direct connection to your customer.
Right.
And so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that. And one of the first posts of yours that I noticed, and what really spoke to me, was a story about Spoonful of Comfort that
Hmm.
you told.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's the most amazing email story. And it also just has so much to do with valuing your audience. Could you
Yes.
unpack that story for me a little bit?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, and I agree with everything you said about email. It's one of those things where I think about like social media is like standing in a crowded bar on a table and screaming and just trying to get someone to notice you.
Yeah, right.
Right. Whereas email is you're sitting across from a friend at a coffee shop and just having a conversation because the people on your list have raised their hand to be on your list, right? They've said yes to whatever it was. So Spoonful of Comfort, I had been on their list for a while. I ordered from them for friends who were sick or injured or whatever. And I had already loved their brand. And it was, I think, April before Mother's Day. And there was an email from their founder. And she said, hey, over the next few weeks, we're going to be, our focus is going to be on gifts for moms because Mother's Day is coming up. And we understand that Mother's Day can be difficult for people. Either you don't have a good relationship with your mom has passed, whatever it is. And so if you would like to opt out of any emails focused on Mother's Day, you can do so right here. And it was the first time that I've seen a company do something like that.
Yeah.
For one, give that opt out of a particular campaign. I know people do that often now, but back then it was one of the first times I had seen it. And it hit home to me because I did lose my mother many years ago, right? And so when Mother's Day rolls around and everybody's
Yeah.
saying, "Oh, buy this, buy that," right? And it's like, it can be difficult. I did not opt out of those just because I'm an email marketer, and so I'm curious to see how they do it. But I just felt like, wow, what a sensitive way to address this topic and not lose subscribers because you're in touch with the reality.
Yeah.
And
And
some people
realizing
don't
that,
love it.
yeah, and realizing that you may be interrupting people in the middle of a grief journey,
Yeah,
trying to sell them something that just is very bittersweet for them at that
yeah,
point, I
yeah.
think is brilliant. I mean, and not enough. I think it shows this value of like an empathy for the customer
Hmm.
that any business can learn from.
Sure.
I think a lot of businesses get in the habit of like output and what they want and
Right.
what they want to sell or what they want their customers to think about. And they forget
Yeah.
that if, especially with an email list, these people decided to opt in and be on your email list for a reason.
Right.
So it's about them, not about you.
Right. Yeah. And I think too that sometimes we forget there are other humans on the other side.
Yeah.
And, with my clients, or even if I'm just teaching about email marketing, I encourage people to think about a specific person.
Yeah.
Think about like an ideal client that's on the other end of that list. They're sitting there, they're opening your email, like write to them as if they are a human being.
Great advice. It really is.
Yeah.
It's such great advice. And, it's like, I think as most marketers have heard that advice and then somehow in their career begin ignoring it.
Yeah.
So as many times as we can say that, I think, it's an incredible reminder because we are communicating to humans. Let's talk a little bit about You offer something online right now called a Core 8 Story Hub, and it's a
Mhm.
product you developed. And I find it really interesting. Is it still in beta right now?
We just started yesterday. As of this recording today, yesterday was our kickoff call, so it's
Oh,
still in
really?
beta. Yeah,
That's great. So,
yeah,
can you
yeah.
tell me a little, because it's like a storytelling framework for entrepreneurs or something like that?
Yes,
Can you tell me about it?
yes, yeah, for sure. So the idea came from my own, I would say, forgetfulness or disorganization, knowing that I had stories, but they were just all over the place, right? Something jotted on a post-it note, some things on a napkin, some things on a Google Doc, some things in a notebook, all over the place. And
Yeah.
when those moments come when you have to write content or give a talk or do a sales presentation, like where are all those stories? They're all over the place, right? And so I began sort of noodling around this concept late last year, and I said, what if we have a framework of 8 core stories, and we build the framework and then we just start to fill it with our stories.
Yeah.
And it's very simple when you think about it. It's like, where do you put things in your closet, right? Like the sweaters go on the top shelf, you know, dresses and suits, they hang, the shoes are on the floor. It's very much like that. Everything has a place and you just keep adding to it over time. And so that's where the idea for the Core 8 Story Hub came from. It's the 8 stories include an origin story, vision story, behind the scenes story, milestones, celebrations, customer transformation, and there are a few others mixed
Yeah.
in there. And essentially, what we are going to do over the next 12 weeks is first build the hub, and start to fill it. Start, together as a cohort, as a group, write these stories, polish them, and fill the hub so that it is always there.
I love that. I mean, I think marketers, small business people, entrepreneurs forget that one of their main jobs is to be a storyteller. And if you're not collecting stories intentionally,
Mm-hmm.
you're absolutely right. What happens is the great one that you thought of or you noticed in the world 3, 4 weeks ago is just gone.
It's gone.
It's
Yeah.
replaced with those 9 social media posts you saw,
Right.
or something else
Yeah.
that happened. So curating stories about your own thing, about humans, noticing, that's brilliant. I love that. I bet it's going to be incredibly helpful to the cohort of people that opted in.
Yeah.
You
I,
know,
I think that, I mean, I could be biased, but I think that the cohort is full. So I'm pretty happy
good.
about that. I limited it to a small group because it's
Yeah.
a beta, but I think that they're the lucky ones because they're getting it at a fraction of what it will be eventually.
Yeah. It's a lot of coaching. I think it's really
It
helpful to
is.
have someone guide you through things like that because I have found with, theories and, processes that people learn from books, there's no accountability.
Right.
You can have a manual, you can have a guide, you can have this and that, but there's no built-in accountability. So joining
Right.
others for something like that is a great way
Yeah.
to be on your journey to start collecting stories. That
Yeah.
really
I,
appeals to me because I was a theater brat, a theater
oh,
major
I think I read that.
along with studying marketing. So I directed tons of plays.
Hmm.
And so stories for me, I mean, I was directing plays in my front yard when I was 9 years old,
Oh
you
my
know?
gosh, I love that.
Yeah, I mean, they were just ripoffs of horror movies. It's just doing the Frankenstein movie over and over again with different characters plugged in. But I was 9. What do you want?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
pretty brilliant for 9, actually.
yeah.
I
And
think.
I'd roam the neighborhood and sell tickets, and it was insane.
Oh my gosh, you were an entrepreneur at way back then.
Yeah, I was. I always have been. But that made me fall in love with stories.
Yeah.
Because I fell in love with movies and all these different types of stories. And if
Hmm.
you really start to notice story, you see it everywhere, and it is what
Yes.
actually persuades human beings.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. And I think that's the thing is that I actually was saying this yesterday on our kickoff call that it's like building a muscle,
Yeah,
that people think that it's some magic formula, that some people are good at it and some people aren't. And I feel like everybody has stories. It just takes some practice, right? Start to notice, record what you notice. You might not always know what the story is going to be, but really just kind of, jot things down. I shared a spreadsheet that I created for the members of the Core 8 Story Hub, where they can just, oh, this happened And this was the lesson. And if they don't know the lesson, it doesn't matter. They recorded the story. They can figure out what the lesson was later. So I
Yeah,
think it's very much like working out, trying to get in shape, right? You do better over time.
it really is. It's a discipline. It's also like one of those disciplines, like if go on walks and it starts to make you feel great and you
Hmm.
get in shape, you're going to fall in love with it. And I
Yeah.
think that's the same thing with storytelling. Once you start to notice it, it's hard not to see it. And
Yeah.
it just makes your content and everything else better. Well, good for you. I hope that keeps going really well.
Thank
And
you.
after it gets out of beta and more
Thank you.
people join, I think it's
Yeah.
a really cool idea and it's a really great way to encourage marketers and entrepreneurs.
Yes. Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's
It's
so
fun.
cool. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about your podcast. You started a podcast. I feel like I was around during the beginning of this.
You were.
Yeah, which is really cool. I saw you sort of get the idea and post that you were going to do it, and then you
Yeah.
started doing it. And bravo! Like, congratulations. I know what that's like. You know. Uh,
Thank you.
so your podcast is called Her Origin Story.
Hmm.
Can you tell me what it's about and how it's been going?
Yeah. Well, it's been going great. It's as much fun, if not more, than I always thought it would be. But I have to tell you, like, I thought about it for 3 years.
Did you?
And for 3 years, I found all the reasons not to do it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, oh, everybody has a podcast. No one needs another podcast. What do I have to say? Who's
Yeah.
going to, all the
No one will
things, like,
care.
no one
Yeah.
will care. And then I was on a call with a coach that I was working with for a few months earlier this year. And I was just feeling just kind of like restless, sort of like in a rut. And
Yeah.
she's like, well, what do you love to do? And I said, I am super nosy, like nosy, curious, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
I
it's
call
great.
it nosy
Yeah,
because
sure.
that's how it feels. But I love to know how people got to where they are.
Yeah.
And I'm usually the one asking the questions. And I said, I really love meeting other women entrepreneurs and understanding like what was their journey, what led them there. And my coach said, just do that. Just start talking to people, start recording the conversations.
Yeah.
And, if it turns into a podcast, great. If not, it satisfies that kind of like curiosity
Yeah.
that you have. And it was like, I never needed permission to do it. But for some reason, hearing her frame it that way and her advising me to be untied to the outcome was really all I needed. Like I didn't need to know how it was going to be a podcast, or I didn't need to know about the tech, which was always something that
That'll stop you.
stopped me. And so that was in February, and by May 6th, I launched my first episode. Like once I had that, once she said just do it, I was like, okay, I'm just doing it. And I found the name and did the graphics. I linked up with someone to do the editing, so I didn't have to worry about that piece of
That's
it.
great.
And so I sit down with women, just very much like we're doing,
Yeah.
and we just have a conversation. Say, tell me about the moment. Like, what do you think is the moment that sparked the journey that you are on right now? And the stories are all over the place, right?
Yeah.
Like some of these women were working in corporate and feeling burnt out. Some had, just had kids and felt like they never saw their kids. Some got fired from a job. Like the stories are really just broad and fascinating and all over the place. And I'm having fun with it.
I'm glad. That's great. I've listened to a couple of your episodes and I think you're doing a great job. And
Thank you.
It's a really cool thing. I think in this day and age, yeah, you could be like, oh, everybody has a podcast, but there's an awful lot of podcasts that are just self-promotional.
Yeah.
I like podcasts where people's value proposition, I hear it at the top and then I keep hearing it over and over again, drive me nuts because I'm not tuning in for you to sell me something.
Right. Exactly.
And I started this because in the pandemic, I just missed one-on-one conversations. And I've always been super interested in other people's stories and their expertise and their struggles as they try to get through this crazy industry we're in.
Yeah.
But I talk to all kinds of I talk to people that are, founders of really big agencies all the way down to like one of the main food influencers in Las Vegas. Cause marketing and brand are an ecosystem of experience. So I'm trying to cover it all.
It started for me as my own curiosity, but I also love that now when I meet women that I think have interesting stories, I have something to give them, right? I'm not meeting them and asking for something. I'm not asking them to hire me. I mean, if they want to hire me, great, but that's really not what I can offer them. I can offer them like, hey, I think your story is amazing. I think our listeners would love it. Would you want to be a guest? And that feels really good too. That was sort of like something I hadn't really thought about in advance, and I love that part of it.
Yeah, isn't that nice? Like
Yeah.
I have authors, a bunch of authors that have come on, and I have someone coming back on for their second book. I've had authors that have come on and then come back, and I think it's so cool because one of the things you can do with a podcast is be generous
Hmm.
and just give somebody a moment for it to be about them.
Yeah.
And that I find fascinating because that is storytelling,
Yes.
which is why I love it. So good for you.
Yes.
Have there been any moments where you've really learned something from a guest that just
Oh,
pops out in your
wow.
mind, like something like that you're just like, wow.
I think one of the first episodes of yours that I listened to was with Terry, and I can't say his
Yeah,
last name.
soup lot.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. And then I bought the book, and I thought, wow, this is like amazing to me how all of this works, right? Like I never would have known who he was, probably never would have known about the book, never would have read the book. And at that time, I was thinking, like, could I be on stage? Like, could I,
Yeah.
do public speaking? I mean, I'm an introvert and kind of, shy. Could I do that? And then I listened to your podcast and got the book, and I thought, I actually think I could do this.
That
So
makes my
it's
day.
just funny how things like that work.
Yeah. So let me ask you about, I've got like two more sections here and I'll let you go. Um, I'm really interested in I think your philosophy around life first business probably came out of experience and, but where else does it come from and how has it worked for you now that you've done it? Because I think that point of view is becoming more and more popular.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I guess I just feel like this is going to sound so cliche, but time moves so quickly.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite things to do is just be with my family. I'm super close to my kids and my sisters. And I always feel like we never have enough time. We'll plan something. We just got back from a week at the beach. We do a whole big family beach vacation.
Yeah.
And I always feel sad when it's over. I always feel like it wasn't enough. Like I wanted more time,
Mm-hmm.
right? I could have done a whole nother week. And so, I would say that with some age has come some perspective that we don't have endless amount of time where we're also healthy to enjoy things.
Yeah.
And I just, that is my number one priority, is to soak in as much of the people in my life that I love, that for as long as I can, for as long as I can enjoy them. And so having a business where I can work from anywhere, I can make the decisions about, do I work today? Do I not? I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm working a lot.
Yeah. You
right?
don't work less. You just
I
work
don't work
differently.
less, work
Yep.
differently. If I want to take a day off, I'm going to visit my aunt and uncle in a few weeks, and they're in their 80s and they're in New Jersey, and they're like a second set of parents to me because my parents are no longer here, and they're pretty healthy, but they're in their 80s, right?
Yeah, right.
Like how long are they going to be here? And so my sisters and I are taking off a day of work, and we're going to go up and hang out and have lunch with them. So things like that, like I just if I'm not doing this because I have the ability to prioritize those sorts of things, then why am I doing it? Because entrepreneurship is not the easiest way to make money.
Yeah, it's not. And it's just it's kind of a value system thing and certainly an opportunity. Some people don't have the choice but to just keep their head down and work as hard as they can at whatever they can get.
Yeah.
But when you can make decisions like that, we have a lot of similarities here. We're always trying to look at lifestyle over just pure profit. Like, there's so many companies that all they want to do is profit and not take care of the people that work with them.
Yeah.
So we're sort of a life first company as much as we can be because marketing is a crazy field to be in.
Yeah.
But,
for sure.
I think it's much more about the people than it is just the profit.
Yeah.
So I admire that. I think that's really cool.
And I'm sure the people that work for you or on your team appreciate that because it's not always easy to find that.
It isn't. And I've worked places, I think most of us have worked places that were inflexible and micromanaging and didn't acknowledge the fact that you have a life. And that's nuts. Like, I just don't think that works anymore, especially post-pandemic.
No. Right.
So you're an entrepreneur. Where's the line between fear and adventure for you?
Oof. Well, I've learned, I'm still learning, but I have learned that sometimes like those uncomfortable moments, whether it's fear or whether it's just uncertainty, are actually a good thing, right? Because I've gone through those moments enough that I know like there is a reward once I push through it, right? If you can stay in that sort of like, I don't know if this is the right thing. I don't know how to do this. I'm going to look like an idiot, like all those things. If you can stay in that long enough, eventually you are going to move to that outer ring of like, okay, like now I know something and now I can actually really grow. So in business, that's, kind of my philosophy. It hasn't always been, I haven't always acted on it in the right way. I've shied away from things that probably I should have done. In life, I'm probably a little more cautious than I used to be in life. I've had some crazy years. I ride a motorcycle. It's probably not the safest thing to do.
They're great.
I'm on three wheels now though, so I
Yeah.
think that was a smart move. When my husband got sick and couldn't ride his motorcycle,
Yeah.
I traded my two wheeler for a three wheeler so I could put him on the back.
Great.
And always thought I would go back to two wheels, but now I'm kind of like, no, I think I kind of like this.
Yeah. It's a little better.
Yeah, a little better. I can relax more. I can enjoy more. I don't worry about, am I going to get a gravel parking lot? Are we going to be in rain? Like, I don't worry so much. I think I enjoy the whole experience more. So I do feel like I have, probably a healthy amount of willingness to take on some risk in life. Maybe not as much as I did in my 20s and 30s.
Yeah. I love asking entrepreneurs about that because I think there's stereotypes of entrepreneurs that they're these huge risk takers.
Yeah.
Just do anything. And I think it's exactly the opposite. I think we're just better at managing risk.
Yeah.
We're better at actively managing risk instead of just taking them for the fun of it.
Right.
So, what would you say that this chapter of your life is? What would you name this chapter of your life?
Oh boy. I feel like this is like I'm going to do things my way chapter. I think I feel confident enough that I can do things that, are maybe outside of like the path, the way other people are doing them, and that it can still turn out okay. It might not look like everybody else's, but it feels like a good fit to me. And so I'm going to do it this way and I can still have a good outcome. And that, I think that only comes with just some years and a little bit of trust in myself and my decisions.
Yeah.
So
it's a good chapter to be in though.
I feel like it is.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So last question, and then I will let you go back to your busy day.
Okay.
What advice would you give your younger self?
Oh gosh.
From your point of view today?
I would give my younger self the advice that it's okay to be different. It's okay. I spent a lot of time not fitting in, going all the way back to when I was a young girl and feeling like that there was something wrong with me, that I should be able to fit in. And there was always that, goal, like eventually I'm going to fit in. I'm going to have some, transformation where I am going to fit in. And I realize now that it's actually better to just be who I am. And, I don't go out of my way to offend people. And I know I'm probably not for everyone, but like if we, vibe and you like me, that's great. And if not, that's cool too.
That's great. Well, it's a great message for anyone younger listening. I think it's a great message for all of us.
Yeah.
Pete Holmes, the comedian, has a bit he does where he says, I came home, put my keys in a bowl and look myself in the mirror and says, I'm not for everyone.
Yeah.
And I think that's like it's just of course we aren't,
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the more you can authentically be you, well, some people just aren't going to like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And nor should we try to be.
No.
Right?
Like I think all of us spend a lot of our lives thinking that's what we should be doing.
Yeah.
So good for you. And I think that comes through in your content. I think you're very much you in your content on LinkedIn and in the world. So once again, everybody, please follow Toby on LinkedIn and look for her podcast. Her podcast is really, really good. And it's new, but it's fascinating. And if you care about, women and founders and people taking risks, it's a great listen. So please tune in and we'll have a link in the episode page for this episode. And Toby, thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you, Steve. This was fun.
Yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed it. Want to hear more inspiring stories? Subscribe on your preferred podcast app so you don't miss an episode. And if you like what we're doing, please rate, review, and share. It's the best way to support us. Thank you for listening to Brand Story.